John's story. John sat across from me in my office, a man in his early 50s with a posture that seemed to carry the weight of his years. His eyes, weary and distant, hinted at the turmoil beneath the surface. He was here because his wife Carol had discovered, again, that he had been paying for prostitutes. This was the second time in their 25-year marriage that he had been caught, and now the burden of that discovery hung heavily. Carrie had Carol had made it very clear that if John wanted to stay married, he needed to participate in treatment. But as I observed him in those first sessions, it was evident that he was not convinced that he had. His resistance and hesitation was palpable. Carol, through her own therapy, had come to believe that John was a sex addict. She was desperate for him to seek help, and for the past 3 months, John had been seeing a therapist who specialized in sex addiction. However, those sessions had only deepened his feeling of shame. He described how the addiction model wasn't resonating with him. It felt as though it was stripping him down to his worst parts without offering any real path to rebuild. He understood why Carol felt the way she did. He had betrayed her trust. He had betrayed her trust, and she was right to demand transparency. He had given up her access. He had given her access to all online activities, but instead of feeling like a step towards healing, it made him feel trapped, as if he was a prisoner in his own life. Despite everything, John loved Carol deeply. He wanted their relationship to work, not just for his sake, but for his children's too. But he was struggling to reconcile the man he wanted to be with the man who kept making these destructive choices. There was something deeper at play, something that the label of sex addict didn't seem to touch. As we continued our conversation, there was a moment when John finally opened up about his childhood. He revealed that he had been sexually abused by his stepfather when he was a boy. The way he spoke, the hesitation, the pain in his voice, it was clear that this trauma was a wound he had never truly addressed. He admitted he thought the abuse might be related to the behaviors he was now being labeled an addict for, but the connections felt murky and confusing to him. Together, we began to explore the function of his behavior, not from the perspective of addiction, but from a place of curiosity and compassion. I asked him what he was trying to achieve through these actions. How were they serving him? As we unpacked these questions, John repeated some of the ideas he had learned in addiction therapy, but there was a clear disconnect. He could recite the patterns and cycles, but I could see he didn't truly believe them, not in a way that would generally lead to change. This was a pivotal moment in our work together. The focus shifted from trying to fit John into a predefined model to understand him as a whole person with a unique history and a complex set of needs. We began to look at the shiny objects in John's life, the things that drew his attention and pulled him away from his pain. These weren't just distractions, they were coping mechanisms, ways of avoiding deeper wounds that had been fostered for decades. As John began to see these behaviors in new light, a path to healing started to emerge, not as a battle against addiction, but as a journey towards understanding and integrating the parts of himself that he had long ignored. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, John felt like he was beginning to understand the real problem, and with that, the possibility of a real solution. Beyond the shiny object is about these journeys, about moving past the labels and the shame to explore the deeper reasons behind our behavior and finding a path to genuine healing. For John and for so many others, this exploration is the key to reclaiming their lives and their relationship. And as a therapist, my role is to create these spaces where they can explore, exploration can happen, to guide my clients as they navigate the complexities of their past and to help them find their way to an integrated, whole sense of self.